This week, we've seen high octane hijinks, police corruption, and the undeniable proof that maybe, just maybe, Kenny Rogers' words of wisdom were true. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. This week, we're going to start with Alien vs. Captain America #1, written by Frank Thierry with artwork by Stefano Raffaele. So, in the midst of World War II, Captain America searches for Baron von Strucker as Strucker is looking for this new weapon for Hydra. It happens to be a weapon from outer space, though. The story here is like really formulaic if you know the mythology and the lore of the Alien universe, and you kind of need to take a couple steps here to establish an Alien storyline. There's gonna be face huggers, there's gonna be chest bursters, and sure enough, there's gonna be chaos. But that chaos part doesn't really hit within this issue necessarily. It's a lot of setup here. It's a lot of the stuff that you would anticipate from an Alien property, with a little bit of Captain America thrown into the mix. I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised here by the artwork in this issue, though. I had some trepidations about the whole aliens in Marvel kind of thing, but I really enjoyed Alien versus Avengers, so I figured I would give this a shot. And I have to say, Stefano's artwork here is really nice. He has a really great organic line work that he uses. Kind of reminds me of Ramon Perez. Some of the chestburster victims, though, they did look a little weird. It kind of looked like something was growing out of them as opposed to something bursted from them. Overall, though, I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised here. Was this the greatest book I read of the week? Not really, but it definitely wasn't the worst. Next up, we have Batman #3, written by Matt Fraction with artwork by Jorge Jimenez. So, Vandal Savage has essentially turned the GCPD on Batman, while a new treatment for like this psychotic episode is being used on the inmates that are actually being held prisoner. This is a really interesting issue here. I feel like they're playing with a lot of cool ideas that were really starting to be established within the Zdarsky run. Fraction knows that Batman has to lean on these new ideas since almost every idea has been used in the Batman mythos, but he uses that to his advantage, and he kind of like plays with your expectations. It's a writer who understands what can be done and what should be done within this book, and he's doing so masterfully. It's what you would expect from Fraction. Jimenez seems like he's having a lot of fun here, and it's crazy to think that he's been on Batman, right? Through Tynan's run, through Zdarsky's run, now with Fraction's run on here. He's been on the book since 2020, and he still finds ways to subtly surprise and delight me. Batman is kind of like awesome, and I can't believe that there's multiple Batman books that I'm really, really enjoying right now. Batman proper is definitely among the bunch. All right, let's talk DCKO Knightfight #1, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Dan Mora. All right, well, I talked about 3 Batman titles I was enjoying. Let's talk about Knightfight here. So, upon his death, Batman is kind of like whisked away. He's using Mother Box technology that where if he was like, if he was incapable of moving or something happened, it was going to automatically pull him out of the fight so he could bring himself back into the fight. And we kind of see that work, but it kind of doesn't because it throws him into this far flung future where Batman isn't Batman anymore. In fact, Dick Grayson has taken on the mantle because something mysterious has happened to Bruce Wayne and nobody is kind of in good terms with him. This didn't really work for me. Something was off here. We're talking about the character in the DCKO event, and now we're going to establish this thing where he's going to these different dimensions and fighting different versions of Batman who happen to be the sons of Bruce Wayne here, whether that's Dick Grayson or Tim Drake or Jason Todd or whatever the case may be. Mora's artwork still works here. It's still very clean, still everything that you would want out of a Dan Mora looking book. But I gotta say, this kind of let me down. All right, let's talk Ice Cream Man, the Mortal Coil Shuffle Card Set Special #1, written by W. Maxwell Prince with artwork by Martin Morazzo. In the realm of unique stuff, this could possibly be the most unique thing that you get out of a comic book medium this year. So, this is a card set where you're supposed to go through each and every individual card and it spells out a story for you and it plays with the idea of what those cards are. Some of them are meant to emulate Magic the Gathering cards, some of them are meant to emulate just a regular deck of cards, and some of them are Uno Shuffle and things like that, right? And you're just playing with all these different ideas and they take you through a journey through the storyline of essentially this family being broken apart as parents are going through a divorce. The children are a little bit removed from that process here, and the parents are struggling with their own I don't know, things that are going on in their lives here. Nobody is really taking responsibility for anything that's actually happening. It's a classic ice cream man type story told in a really, really unique way. It was really cool. I do wish that they played with the idea of the card set just a little bit more. Like, there's no real game element of it, right? Each card is essentially just a page of the comic book that you're meant to read. It would have been really great if they like actually, made a little game out of it that you can actually play, that did something along the lines of what you would anticipate from an ice cream man story. Overall, though, judging it for what it is and not what it could be, this was really awesome here. It was, again, everything that you'd want out of a W. Maxwell Prince type story. Unique, inventive, heartfelt, remorseful. It's got all the hallmarks of a really great Ice Cream Man story. All right, let's talk Minor Arcana number 11, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. So Teresa has really fully embraced the fact that she has these new abilities and she can see into people's pasts and their futures. And she helps in identifying the individuals who assaulted her mother's boyfriend. And yeah, did I kind of mention that they may be involved in the CD cult that maybe has powers too? So nobody writes small town life quite like Jeff Lemire. He just gets all of the subtlety pitch perfect, all of the characterization, all of the interactions between these people. It can get cheesy and hokey under the wrong penmanship. Lemire is not the wrong penmanship. He remains on artistic duty here, and he gets to play with these dreamscape qualities too that Teresa is navigating as she's using her powers and like looking through the dreams and the afterthoughts of these individuals here, particularly that boyfriend character when he's in a coma. It's a really effective issue here. I'm really glad that Jeff Lemire is back on artistic duty. I think that it really shines through on this issue in particular. And I gotta say, Minor Arcana, it looks like it's starting to ramp up into something really great. Next up, we have Rook Exodus number 8, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Jason Fabok. So, Rook and crew are tracking down Direwolf's father in the catacombs of where the world engine is on this planet that is actively dying right now that they're trying to help. And Direwolf's father happens to be the only person that might have a chance at reigniting this. So this is definitely like an in-betweener kind of issue, but ultimately it's a really effective in-betweener issue. Solid character work, excitement still kind of peaks at certain parts here. We're kind of building, right? We're getting the characters in a place where there's going to be a big, exciting action moment that's going to take place. Speaking of excitement, Fabok delivers on some like really shiver-inducing action scenes here when they come face to face with a cavern full of spiders. And we already knew that there was going to be a arachnid type of character that they were going to be playing with, one that happens to be wearing a mask as well. So Rook Exodus is back. I'm so excited that it's back. This is a storyline that keeps building and growing. And when it comes to artistic duties, you're not going to find a better looking book among the bunch. All right, let's talk The Savage Sword of Conan number 11, written and drawn primarily by Liam Sharp. So Conan meets this ethereal doppelganger of himself in this dreamscape type area as he's been basically tasked with finding the son of one of these villagers, right? They've purchased his services and now he's seeking him out. Sharp's story takes the vast majority of this issue, right? Because these are the magazine style issues here. So normally we get a 1-2 punch, and we do get that, but Liam Sharp is totally like in the driver's seat for most of this. And he crafts a really, really cool story here that plays with the idea of the supernatural within Conan, right? There's a lot of cool ideas that Conan gets to play with because sometimes it's just barbaric action, but sometimes he kind of delves into that supernatural. And this is definitely playing with that, as there's like three factions within this dreamscape, and they're all kind of vying for what they all need, and each one is kind of pitted against one another. Conan is having none of it, though. Conan wants what he wants, and that's exactly what's happening. The dialogue, if I'm being honest here, is a little bit stilted here. It does come to the detriment of the story, but you're not really here for the dialogue, right? You're here for Liam Sharp's artwork. And I gotta say, when I was just talking about the previous issue, how that was like one of the best looking issues, well, this is the only one that can take it up a notch because Liam Sharp's artwork, you're not going to find anything better this week. This is the best looking book here. And I have to say, when it comes to the quality of the magazine style format, the black and white looks so freaking good on this. It is glorious. Ron Mars has a backup storyline that's in here. It's pretty good. It's a kind of a throwaway story, right? There's nothing big that happens. It's just a really quick adventure that he goes on. But I have to say that, like I said, you're coming here for Sharp's artwork. You're coming here for Sharp's story, and in that portion of it, they really deliver. All right, let's talk Skin Police 2, number 3, written by Jordan Thomas with artwork by Daniel Gates. So Ekis, our main investigator, meets up with, well, himself. He is also a dupe, right? He has had a person that they've basically taken his DNA and duplicated him and made a younger version of himself. But that dupe happens to be basically heading up the resistance, right? This coalition of other dupes that are trying to remain, I don't know, alive, basically, right? They're trying not to get captured by the Skin Police and taken away because the corrupt government says that it's illegal to make, even though that government is the same people that are making the dupes. Gates' artwork continues to be great in this. This issue in particular showcases his panel framing in a really great way, and he brings this really dynamic, dramatic feel to all the visuals. The storyline here is definitely ramping up here. I believe we only have a couple more issues left till the series is actually all the way done. We have the first volume. This is the second volume here, and I think we're at the halfway point. The narration between these two characters that are the same character, though, that Jordan Thomas puts together, is done really well. Skin Police is definitely one you don't want to be sleeping on. All right, we have another magazine format book, so let's go ahead and talk about Space Scouts number 1, written by Matt Kindt with artwork by David Rubin. So we have a reluctant teen that has these powers, and they're recruited basically by this organization that puts on this Hunger Games-esque type of tournament where the winners get to join the spacefaring super team. This was okay. It wasn't the best thing that I've ever read, though. Sometimes Kint, when he's writing stuff, gets really caught up with the weirdness of the stories and of the narrative, and the story itself kind of takes a back seat. The plot doesn't really shine through so much as the oddness of the story in itself. This feels like that. It's almost like a Philip K. Dick story, and I feel like if I'm going to compare Matt Kindt to any writer out there, outside of the comic book medium, Philip K. Dick really rings true when he gets into the weirdness of his stories. Rubin, however, gets to have a lot of fun here, and I really love their artistic quality. I feel like when they are paired up with Matt Kindt, that's a team up that you want to see more often than not. In this issue, there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of oddness that he gets to render, and I have to say, Space Scouts, while it didn't blow me away, it was still worthwhile. Next up, we have Speed Racer number 4, written by David Papos with artwork by David Tinto. So, Speed is racing the track that he believes took the life of his brother against the Black Jaguar, the most dangerous opponent to date. Oh yeah, and he doesn't even realize he's on the track with his brother. This feels like one of those like 2 arc episode deals that you get out of a cartoon, right? Where the first episode is establishing the stakes and you get this huge buildup and you're left off with this enormous cliffhanger that just like leaves you wanting more and more. Yeah, that's exactly what you get in this. And it's such a great way to honor that idea considering that it is a licensed property that's drawing on the cartoon where it originated. This was also a big opportunity for Tinto on artwork, and he did not miss. The entirety of this issue is about the race and how Speed is trying to get there, and how Black Jaguar has every kind of like, I don't know, mechanism in which to just either destroy the Mach 5 or at the very least stop him from winning the race. All the while Racer X is trying to help Speed to be the one that actually wins the race. There's a lot of set pieces on this track that Tinto really gets to have a lot of fun with. Speed Racer continues to ramp up the speed on the book, and you have to be checking this out because it's a lot of fun. Next up, we have Wild Animals number 4, written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Andy Kuhn. So the police have tracked Neil down and they're trying to end his reign of vengeance, and we get a revelation about the day that Neil's father was killed. I've always felt like Ed Brisson had saddled us with an unreliable narrator in this story, and we've gotten clues and little bits and pieces, all the way like looking back from issue number 1, that everything that Neil thought happened wasn't necessarily the same thing that happened in reality. This issue all but confirms that, maybe even cements it. We're working with half-truths, essentially. When it comes to the artwork on here, I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed Kuhn's artwork in the series. It is clean enough to be mainstream, but it's gritty enough that it brings that indie feel all like to the forefront all at the same time. Wild Animals is kind of crafting itself into being a really cool story. Now it's taking turns and, zigzags that I didn't anticipate coming. But I have to say, when it comes to the crime genre, it's really not getting better than Wild Animals right now. And with my runner-up book of the week, let's talk Absolute Superman number 13, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Rafa Sandoval. So Lazarus is bringing their onslaught to Smallville, leaving Superman and Sol to protect those who fear him. Aaron is conveying the working class here in such a great way as they stand up. And it's kind of like the exact opposite of what the Kryptonians didn't do and were doomed because of it. Rising up is shown as hope, and it works incredibly well here. The depiction of Superman as a humble, soft spoken person is really great too. I feel like we talked about the last issue, how it really started to identify who Kal-El was as an adult, and I feel like we're cementing the ideas of who he is and who he's trying to be within this issue. We're starting to get that character development that I really wanted. His moral compass is true, but he's learning to inspire the people at the same time, the way that we anticipate classic Superman to do. Rafa Sandoval, again, here kills this issue, man. There is a lot of great things that are happening here because Superman is trying his best. He's working basically nonstop, 24 hours a day, keeping Lazarus at bay while they're continuing to kind of like push forward and try to take over the town and trying ultimately to capture Superman. Now we know that Ra's al Ghul is in the, he's on the battlefield here. We're gonna see something happen here as the cliffhanger of this comes up. But I have to say, for the single issue experience, oh, they killed it. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk Assorted Crisis Events number 6, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Eric Zawadzki. So, a time displacement disease causes a man to change his age and knowledge during current time, at any time, multiple times a day. Welcome back to Assorted Crisis Events. I'm so glad that this book is back. That is the kind of premise that you only get out of this type of book, and I'm really, really glad it's back. It's honestly one of the absolute best books that is coming out this year. By the way, make sure you keep your eyes open. My best of 2025 video is going to be dropping here sometime in the near future. When it comes to this issue, though, I hope you brought your tissues because this is a really heartfelt, really sorrow-filled kind of story. But it's also about the triumph and perseverance of love as well. It's kind of like looking through the difficult times, but also seeing the love that comes through in those difficult times. Camp is ramping up the emotions to a fever pitch here. So, similar to the issue where we had someone experiencing years worth of life in seconds, Zawadzki gets to work with some really interesting layouts of the book that essentially make this endless reading experience because we kind of get to see the path of a day that happens with this man who's, going through all these different age changes at any given time. We get to see the experience of his wife and how she deals with those things and how it's kind of like a rinse and repeat kind of experience for her. It was a really, really well done story. It was, gosh, it was definitely the best reading experience I had this week. It was arguably one of the best reading experiences I had of the year, though. Make sure that you're checking out Assorted Crisis Events. It is an absolutely stunning book that brings all of the emotion, art, all of the heart, really inventive artistic qualities through it. And it was absolutely worthy of Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.